two writers, one just starting out, the other a bestseller. Join James Blatch and Mark Dawson and their amazing guests as they discuss how you can make a living telling stories. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Publishing Formula Podcast. Did I get you just as you were scratching your hair? You were adjusting one of your hairs.
I was pretending to be you.
Oh, that was me. Just checking my hair. I am, doing this every week and watching yourself is worse than doing TV for me. I used to watch myself to work out what, I needed to do, stop moving my hands, all the rest of it, as you're supposed to. But this week in, week out, being on screen, I'm now a bit conscious of things and I'm having a little bit of work done. A little bit tucked now. I'm doing a little bit with my teeth then, which you might be able to tell from my voice. It will get better. But I'm also noticing that I'm thinning a bit. This is...
that ship sailed for me. That's gone.
There you go. We're so... You did just sing You're So Vain at me just before we came on air, didn't you? But
I did.
There's nothing wrong with being proud of your appearance.
No, I suppose not. But I've got other battles to fight.
Okay. Well, welcome along to the Self-Publishing Formula Podcast, two middle-aged men discussing existential issues. We're delighted to have you there. We're feeling energised, full of beans, because we're back off our trips. We went to the States, met a few students, did a very convenient triangle around America, had some horrendous traffic jams, but we all ended up together on the Gulf Coast of Florida. And for me, it was the best NINC conference we've been to. In fact, I'd say in my limited experience of publishing conferences, it was the most enjoyable and useful that I've been to. I think it's a really wonderful conference they've got going there in NINC.
Yeah, it was the best I've been to, and I've been to a few more than you. So it was really good. Lots of interesting sessions. The only criticism I'd have for them, and I think they may try and address this, is that they've got so much good stuff. It's difficult to get to everything. It clashes a lot. So there was sessions that I did when I would rather have not listened to, not being me, and got to see someone else talking. But I know that was other people have noted that. But yeah, it was great. Really, very well attended. Nice to hang out with people that we've come to know now. You flew in an airplane with Nathan Van Coops.
Yes, that was really fun.
I stumbled into breakfast one morning with David Gogren and had a good chat with him. There was our drinks evening, which was, I kind of turned up and didn't even get in the door. I was basically pinned outside talking to people as they were coming in, and it was fantastic. We had a really good time. Yeah,
and I saw lots of people, and everyone I'd spoken to said they had a to-do list from the sessions. You could see people scribbling from the various sessions, and they were very practical based. Yeah, I agree. Actually, we did. I did a session on live video, and I looked across at the competition we were up against, and it was stiff. And actually, same as you, I could have gone to the other. I could have gone to the other three.
You looked across at the competition, and it was stiff.
Yes. Stiff competition as a normal. There's something wrong in the water in Salisbury. There is something wrong in the water in Salisbury. Yes, but we got good feedback, and I know you got good feedback because I asked people what they thought of your session. So that was good.
He's all right.
And if you can't get enough of SPF, I will be at 20 Books in Vegas and giving the same talk on live video and how to use it, which dovetails nicely with today's interview, which is all about live video and recorded video for authors. But before we get there, Mark, we need to welcome a clutch of Patreon subscribers, or Patreon, which way you'd say it, who have decided to support the podcast and therefore put themselves possibly in line to be in the book lab. One of the many benefits you get from being a Patreon listener. Another new one, and I'm going to read out the names and welcome the new people in a moment, is the opportunity to be in the exclusive audience for a monthly webinar. And we're going to pick out, because there's so much going on in the indie world at the moment, it is quite difficult to know where to keep your focus, but you've got a great helicopter view, and this is your idea once a month to drill down in one subject area.
That's right. So we're calling it SPFU. So Self-Publishing University.
I never got that before you just said that.
No, there you go. Now you get it. So yeah, the first one I did one on AMS ads, which was really, it was on a Friday afternoon. I did it in the UK time, and it was very well attended and lots of good feedback after that. Some stuff I'll be putting in the ads course when it comes back in November. And as this is being recorded, we're recording this on a Monday. Adam Croft is doing one for us tomorrow on mindset. So that will be, if you're listening on Friday, you won't be able to attend that live, but we will, all of them will be available to subscribers on a recorded basis. So he's doing mindset. We've got Damon Courtney coming up from Book Funnel, who's a fantastic speaker, really entertaining. He's doing a session for us. I think we've got Tammy Lebrec doing something on mailing lists. She's a bit of a ninja on mailing lists, hoping to get David Gogren to do something on BookBo ads. So, lots and lots of value. I'm very keen that if you support us on Patreon, it doesn't cost very much, but I want to give tons and tons of value. So I think these kind of monthly webinars are a pretty good way to do that. So in the second one, but we have plans to go through, through the rest of the year.
Yeah, so that's our gold level subscribers get an invite to these webinars. Also, people who've purchased a course off us in the past. Is that right? Have I got that right? So
yeah, if you're in the Genius or the Mastery groups, they'll always be posted in those groups.
So if you're in Genius or Mastery, as a result of having bought into one of the courses, you don't have to be Patreon subscribers where you will get an invite to these webinars, although you do get other benefits, of course. But if you want to be in the exclusive audience for these webinars, then get on to patreon.com/SPF podcast and sign up. On that note, let us welcome Ira Heineken, which sounds so close to Heineken, but is Heineken, C-H-E-N at the end. Ira, welcome. Dan Friedman, Kim Cox. I've got some locations and some I don't have. So Kim Cox is in North Carolina in the US. We've got Linda Shenton Matchett, welcome to you, who is in New Hampshire, I believe, NH. Terry Marchian, who's in WA, which I think is Washington. And Alice Deegan is from Toronto, or Toronto, depending on how you want to say it, in Canada. Jonathan Webb is in Saffron Walden, which is a beautiful little market town just down the road from me, just south of Cambridge. Katie Rank-Lev, who's from PA, Pennsylvania, in the United States. Sherry South from Illinois. And then we got some no locations for David Stewart Black, Lee Anne Beckett, Hazel Longway or Longway, and Peter M. Wolford. Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for taking a step forward to supporting the podcast. We really appreciate it. If you're in the gold level, there's lots of stuff coming to you, but you get something at every level, bronze, silver, and gold. So it's basically $1 a month, $2 a month, or $3, not a month, per episode.
Yeah,
1, 2, or 3.
Gold level 1, a dinner with John Dyer. Two dinners with John
Dyer. Yes, so you can go to patreon.com/SPF podcast and find out more about it there. Okay, the other thing we're going to mention is that we've just been through a course launch, and one of the things we do after each launch is we have a review of our foundation. And you're going to say sleep for a bit.
I was going to say, lie down. Yeah.
We do lie down in a darkened room. But we have an SPF foundation. We know that the sort of materials that you need, including our courses and some of the marketing money, is beyond quite a few people in our community. And if you've got a good case, there's a chance of you being awarded some money from us or some services to the value of quite high value. In fact, is it? Do you remember how much it is?
I think it's £2,500.
£2,500 or dollars?
One or the other.
Anyway, it's a decent chunk of change. When you go into partnership with Readsy, so you can pick up editors, covers, and you get access to our courses and so on to get your career off to a start if you just need that bit of help. So if you go to our website, which is selfpublishingformula.com, you will see at the very top there's a few drop-down menus, and one of them is called SPF Foundation. And there are some criteria. There is some criteria which you need to satisfy, but you'll see all the information there. Good. What was that noise?
That was a very big lorry going past the window. I forgot to mute my microphone.
It's the Russians. You're what?
I'm so unprofessional.
Yes. You shouted at somebody this morning and told them to mute their microphone, so we were shouting at you back on a conference call. Good. Okay, now live video. So how much live video do you do, Mark, on your author side? We do lots on SPF, but what do you do from your author side? Not just live.
Yeah, Facebook Live is mostly. I've actually got on my whiteboard over there to schedule some to wrap around a launch that I did from last Sunday. I haven't done that yet, but no, I should do more. It's dead easy to do these days. and the more you do it, the better you get. So yeah, I'm definitely, this is I think an area that people should be aware of.
Yeah, definitely. And all the stats on using video in your business, and we are businesses trying to sell our books, do show that people who use businesses that use video, move quicker, grow quicker, and sell more than those that don't. So it gives you an edge in a competitive world. Now, we do focus our attention really on Facebook Live. We think it's the one that suits authors best. It's where your audience is easiest to build and easiest to target. However, the biggest video platform on the planet is, of course, YouTube. And I've been really interested in this, having researched the talks I've been giving at the moment on live videos to who's using YouTube and who's doing that successfully. And I've dug out actually quite a few authors who use it in quite a particular way. Now, some people just have a presence. In fact, Lee Child is on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel. He has 4,500 subscribers, and he basically plays the guitar on his video. So he doesn't really talk about his books, but he just enjoys using YouTube for that. But there will be, of course, even for someone like Lee Child, there's a little warming up of the audience, of people getting to know you, wanting to be your readers wanting to be your fans, and fans becoming your super fans because of that personal connection that video gives you. So delving into YouTube, I have dug out a couple of authors who are killing it in that area. One's very interesting because he's got a huge YouTube audience and is moving over to becoming an author, and he's talking about how YouTube has worked for him so far, but when it comes to being an author, you want perhaps a smaller, more targeted audience than the traditional YouTube channels. All of this is quite interesting if this is an area you want to get into. So the two interviewees are Garrett Robinson and Antoine Bandele. Garrett is a really interesting character on YouTube, and I'm really pleased that he agreed to have a chat with us and show us what he's done. And afterwards, or during the interview, you can go off onto YouTube and have a look at the sort of things he's doing. But let's hear from these two. Antoine and Garrett, thank you so much indeed for joining us. I love it when we have a three-way, which I can't say very often on our podcast. But
I mean, I wasn't going to say it. I'm glad you did, though.
I don't have them so much anymore. So it's great that we've got three voices. So I'm going to try and structure it as much as I can, but feel free to dive in if there's something you want to say and make a point on something. But I'll probably start at the beginning by doing a little bit of introduction. So Garrett, SPFers will be familiar with you. We did an interview with you up in your home in Portland, a beautiful part of the United States. Last year, was it last year? I can't remember. We had a great day anyway, and I went to a fantastic air museum, which is and a great hotel. So it was a really good trip for us. But what struck me, and we didn't feature this at the time, is how prolific you were on YouTube and how you were thinking about using your YouTube channel. And I know some of this comes naturally to you, kind of personality-driven channel, but it's of interest, I think, to the wider community of how to use YouTube. Antoine as well, you've posted some phenomenal figures. I've had a look at your channel. So this is what we're going to talk about. Garrett, why don't you tell us who you are, a little bit about your background, then we'll do the same with Antoine, and then we'll get into the good stuff.
So I'm a fantasy author, and that is what I bill myself as. Previously, I've written in a bunch of different genres, but as soon as I started writing the epic fantasy that I'm writing now, it felt good to me internally, and that's also when the books took off. So that's just straight up what I bill myself as. But I got started earlier as a filmmaker, and I was trying to make it in the indie film industry in Los Angeles, and especially for what I wanted to do, which was direct, not write or do anything else. That was very, very hard to break into. And then one day a friend of mine said, you should write these, you should self-publish them. I started my publishing in 2012. Went full-time in 2013, not because the books were succeeding, but because I got let go from my job, and my wife, in a flash of brilliance or insanity, depending on how you look at it, said, I think that you should just go for writing full-time. So I did, but it wasn't until actually 2015 that I heard Mark appear on another podcast and heard about the self-publishing formula, the Ads for Author course, and that was when my books actually became a full-time living, and my wife started to work with me. We now run a publishing company where we've published myself and 7 other authors, including Antoine, with more coming in the future. And I myself have published 10 novels set in the same fantasy world of Underrealm in a few different series, but with all of the stories connecting and coordinating with each other. And ads are still the primary thrust of how I get myself out there. But There are a couple other things that I do that are fairly unique or are maybe just rare in the indie author community, and YouTube is definitely one of them. I've made my home there since 2014, and I love it.
Okay, well, we're so excited for your success, Garrett, and that's why we came to speak to you. And it's nice of you to mention the course, because I think at the time this podcast is going to go out, it's just about to open again. So that's a really nice time to say that these things...
I will sing its praises till the end of my days. It is the first thing I recommend to people because it's literally what launched everything. Wow. So, yeah.
That is amazing and great to hear. And Antoine, I kind of welcome you to SPF because we haven't had your name on the podcast before. And I think you're, in contrast to Garrett, at the beginning of your writing career.
Yeah, that's fair. We're definitely on the opposite side of the spectrum because it's more of me coming from YouTube into the indie author scene, whereas Garrett is definitely more solidified. His foot is definitely, he has a strong foothold in his author career. For me, I was going to, my YouTube was based on like a lot of geeky videos talking about Avatar or Star Wars or who would win a fight, Darth Vader or Voldemort, that kind of stuff, right? So I've been doing that for like a little bit, and it was a great way to show me that I didn't have to work a 9 to 5 to earn my own money, to the point now where my YouTube channel is doing a very good passive income for me while I try to do this author career type stuff. But initially I wanted to start writing because there wasn't African fantasy that I wanted to see out there. Particularly there's this folklore in Angola that is called the Kishi, and I looked it up. No stories, never featured in anything before. And I was like, how is this possible? It's a dope half hyena, half dude. It's kind of like a vampire where it's a charming person who brings you in and then eats you afterwards. Like it takes women. And I'm like, how is that like not a thing? And I just decided, let me do it myself. And I'm enjoying it so much now that I'm using my YouTube platform because it was a great way for my first initial push, my YouTube channel to get people, because it's kind of aligned a little bit, not so much because people who watch YouTube videos generally aren't also readers at the same time, but I have found a few people to help kind of launch me into not nothingness, but like a little something of starting a career in the author scene. So yeah.
That's great. And it's interesting you talk about that. I wonder if, for whatever reason, Asian folklore and stories have made it a bit more quickly into the kind of commercial Western world than African stories have. I don't know if that's really the case, but it seems that
it's starting up right now. There's a little bit of a renaissance going on right now.
Good. Well, there you go.
I'm happy for it.
There's got to be a billion fantastic stories ready to be told there. So we'll talk about your writing more specifically in a moment. Let's talk about YouTube then. And Garrett, I'll start with you. So you had a home on YouTube. You are kind of personality driven, and I've watched a lot of your videos and they range quite a lot. There's a little bit of you talking politics. There's a bit of you talking about the books. There's a bit of you talking to readers, to writers. How does it work for you? Does it work commercially for you, or is this a hobby on the side of your writing?
It's kind of the reason that I started doing it in the first place was because, and anybody who makes it as an author, whether you're traditional or indie, knows this. And I don't care how fast you are, there is still a long period, even if you're one of those people who pops off a novella every 3 or 4 weeks. There's still that period where you're working on a thing and you have no feedback whatsoever. You aren't receiving a metric or an indication of what you're doing. You're not circulating ideas around. And so some people mitigate that by participating in a writer's group, and they send what they're working on around for immediate feedback. I guess I've never found a group where I felt like that worked for me. And instead, I turned to YouTube. And so on YouTube, I will talk about whatever is primarily on my mind right now. And most of the time, what is primarily on my mind right now, even if it's not directly the thing I'm writing, it's a theme or an idea that I'm using in my writing. And when I'm working that idea around in the draft, it's very difficult to do it in a way where other people can give their thoughts, their comments, or their feedback on it, even if it's only because it's in first draft form and they can't get through the spelling and the grammar. When I make a YouTube video, I write the script for it or bullet points for it. I vary my format on how I produce it. I film it, I edit it, I post it, and I start getting comments, you know, like immediately. It just starts happening. And that is extremely helpful, not only as a running log or journal of what I'm thinking about, but also for community interaction and all that sort of stuff. And over time, that's why I started doing it, and it's still the primary reason why I continue to do it. Over time, it's grown into its own thing where I do talk about things that aren't as strictly related to my books. I have no problem and no hesitation whatsoever to wear my heart on my sleeve and to be very strongly opinionated about things on my YouTube channel. You know, my politics are pretty left leaning, and I'll just go out there and I'll say whatever I want to. It does that, you know, that does invite a different kind of feedback sometimes, but sometimes that can actually be very good.
And you don't worry about, just on that point, you don't worry about alienating roughly 50% of your audience. No, I don't, honestly, because my work is actually, it's not explicitly political, but it is anyone who has read my work will know that it's pretty left leaning as well. Okay. And if somebody gets I'll put it this way. If somebody gets upset at something that I say in my videos, they were never going to like my novels. It just wasn't going to happen, just period. But at the same time, you don't mind somebody who perhaps votes Republican reading and buying your novels and enjoying them.
I mean, if they do, then great. It's honestly a little hard for me to picture that, but if it happens, then that's great. As long as they don't mind. I very strongly object to the statement that sometimes comes from people of, you know, stay out of politics, shut up and write your books. Like I don't approve that for other artists or for me. I also don't think that everybody has to do that because, you know, there are certain people who have mental health issues like anxiety and self-esteem who can't take trolling. They can't take online attacks, or they just don't want to do all of the arguing or the debate that comes. I don't mind doing that. I don't do it all the time. I don't do political videos every week. Every once in a while, you know, I get some chip on my shoulder and I talk about it, and that happens for a week or, you know, maybe a little bit longer, and that's it. Okay. But that has sometimes actually been something that gets shared around a lot and kind of garners the books a lot of attention. That happened in February.
Yeah. You know? Did I see 80,000 views on one of your videos?
Yeah.
And that was a political one, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think it's funny that my most popular video ever teaches people how to record video and audio. That's my most popular. It's a tech tutorial on basically how to do something like this to make a YouTube video. And then beyond that, my next video is political. My next one is not. It's just about being a father with sort of another internet celebrity, and then it's another political one, and it's a few political ones down from there. Okay, all right. Now I think I've got this right. I think you have 4,500 subscribers to your channel, but you have some videos that peak, as we just said, close to 100,000 views. Antoine, right. So this is where you can wipe the floor with SPF. And Garrett. It's the opposite spectrum, but also it's literally opposite. How many subscribers have you got? I think it's 145,000 right now. Is where I'm at. And then my top video is almost about to hit 6 million views. It's Aang versus Korra. I did a little whistle, which is completely opposite. It's not political. It's not like really serious. It's just like literally me talking about why I think a certain character would beat another character. And it's amazing. I became a super fan of Antoine's videos. I just started churning through his whole channel. It's amazing. They are great. And I'm quite geeky as well, so the Star Wars stuff is right up my street. So you better just describe how you started with this. Was this a deliberate attempt to develop something that might be commercial? No, not at all. It was just, I was literally working retail, the Apple Store at that time. And are you a genius? I just saw... Well, no, I actually wasn't that position. I was a specialist, is what they call me, a specialist, not a genius. But I saw these videos, like these like hypothetical fight videos,
from other YouTubers, not like the big channels, but like smaller ones. And I was like, oh, I thought I could do this. This is not that. They're just putting pictures on and just doing like Ken Burns, like the slideshow. And so I thought I could do it better because I graduated with, or not graduated, I went to school for multimedia. So like, let me apply that skill into YouTube and see what I can do. So I just started doing it for fun. And then I realized, oh my goodness, people are watching this and interacting with it a lot. Like in particular, it was that Aang versus Korra one where I think it was the summer of 2015. And at first, like I think the first week it did like 10,000 views, like right then. I was like, oh my, what's going on here? And I was showing my other friend, my coworkers, and they were like looking at it, and then like, it shot to like 1 million like in the year. And I was like, I don't think I need to work here anymore. Apple, thanks. And then within that year of me doing YouTube, I learned how to be a little bit more of an entrepreneur. Whereas before I was used to just give me my paycheck every week, you know what I mean? And like, you know, I just clock in, clock out, turn my mind off. And now I've now had the mentality of like, oh, you can do this yourself. You can be a business owner, even if it's small, you know? So that helped a lot.
You've been released from that 9 to 5, which is always fantastic to hear. And the, broadly speaking, so YouTube, so we have a YouTube channel, SPF, and it's similar to Garrett's. It's an important kind of loss lead generator for us in terms of finding our audience, getting visibility for the organization, people joining us through that, and then eventually becoming a bigger part of SPF. The other thing that YouTubers do, if they get enough views, is that they can monetize the channel through advertisements. And that's, I guess, is where you ended up quite quickly. You were able to just get a passive income from adverts appearing on your videos. Is that right?
Correct. That and sometimes brand deals, but mostly definitely adverts for sure.
Okay. I mean, to the point.
Or ads. American ads.
Ads.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Mirroring you right now.
That's good. And I don't really know quite how this works because I saw some figures for Casey Neistat, somebody I follow a bit for the tech stuff. So in fact, funny enough, I've got a brand new camera thanks to Casey's recommendation for our next trip. And I love YouTube for that sort of thing, not just a rather dry description of a model, but someone like Casey who smashes it on the floor to see how hard it breaks and stuff. And I think I saw someone analyze his figures and reckon that he was making something like $80,000 to $90,000 a month at one point through views, but his views were phenomenal. What level of views does it start to become something you can earn an income from?
I think I started, this was 2013 YouTube, which is different from 2018 YouTube. After its whole, adpocalypse thing that happened, it definitely took a dip. But at the time that I started, getting over, I think what I was always trying to hit was 20,000. I don't remember what the actual figure was, but it was enough that I was like, making enough on each video. And I was thinking kind of how any author should be thinking about making a backlist for their books. It was like that, but for videos. I was making backlists. And I was like, oh, okay, if I make more than a person, like Garrett was saying earlier, oh, I watched this one video, I'm going to watch this one, and watch this one. And like playlists are like playlists in particular, very, very important thing for anyone who's trying to do a YouTube video right now, or a YouTube channel right now. Make sure you have that there and have a backlist just in the same way you do as an indie author for videos to just continue to watch, and make it sure that your videos are something that people are like, oh yes, I would want to watch more of those, and just go on a rabbit hole of content. And
your playlists are themed, are they, into the different types of video you post?
So they're themed in like Avatar or Harry Potter, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, like whatever the franchise is, then I'll theme it there. Or if it's a versus video or just a regular geek talk, as I call them, it's like discussion video essay, or a let's play for a video game, whatever it is. Yeah, you just space them out.
Okay. And Garrett, I want to talk to you a little about the writing process. You introduced us to this thing that drew you to YouTube is the interaction that you need from your readers to help you write the books, which is a really interesting area. But on the marketing side, I'm guessing, unlike Antoine, you're not looking at huge volume videos that give you advertising income. You're looking at finding readers.
Correct. I actually did a thing because obviously this is something that I can do or have done because my strategy is completely different. I basically started a Patreon a while ago, and of course most people will be familiar with what Patreon is. I started a Patreon for my YouTube channel some time ago, And at the time, my ads on my videos had been earning me about $20 a month, which is obviously that's just nothing. It's very, very tiny. You know, I bow before Antoine's superiority completely. And
it's luck.
And then so I created the Patreon. I told my YouTube channel about it, and immediately I had $200 a month in Patreon. And so I just told my YouTube channel, you know what? I'm just going to turn off ads. And I did. So I don't actually earn money from ads. I did go back and I added ads back into a couple of my tutorial videos, but even though my channel is eligible to be monetized, I just turned it off because it's not, I don't like ads on YouTube. You know, the whole YouTube premium service that they offer where you can pay to have an ads-free YouTube. I pay for that, and I'm happy to do so. And I just have ads off on the rest of my videos because if I had them on, it would be such a small amount of income versus the amount of annoyance that I would feel if I were one of my audience members. So for me, the marketing benefit, the financial benefit of it is strictly Patreon, and I'm always encouraging people to go become a patron on Patreon. And the marketing benefit, this is actually something that indie authors will probably be able to relate to quite easily, is that I kind of think of my YouTube channel like a separate email list. In my mind, I have 4,000 subscribers. When I publish a video, if it gets, 1,500 or 2,000 views, that you can think of that as opens. So it means that I'm getting about a 50% open rate or a 35% open rate. And how do you increase your open rate? Well, you come up with better titles and you come up with better thumbnails, just like you come up with a better subject line for your emails. And I use my own tracking link for when I'm encouraging people to buy a book in my YouTube videos. I use a special tracking link so that I know that they're coming from that so I can track how many sales I'm getting. I really do think of it that way when it comes time to market. And then for the rest of it, it's just straight up interaction with the fans and via video, which is just the most personal way that you can do it. Writing them an email and giving personal details about yourself and being very conversational and natural in your email list is great. Podcasting is probably better because they can hear you, they can hear your inflection and the energy in your voice. Video is that, and they get to see your face and your facial expressions. It's incredible,
Yeah, I always tell people this. There's something very visceral and animalistic about seeing someone's face. That's why business people spend thousands of pounds flying to speak to somebody. In an ideal world, we'd go into everyone's home and have a personal conversation with them to tell them about our books. Can't do that. YouTube is going to be the next nearest one. So I am going to come back and I'm going to get onto the writing process with you, Garrett. But Antoine, I'm really excited about your next stage then, because you've got this platform, amazing YouTube platform. But I guess it's people who are interested in, I was going to say short form. Some of your videos are longer, but shortish form videos. And you now have a challenge to basically use that platform to launch a writing career. How are you setting about that?
Right. And to tie your pants off of Garrett, I actually value his 4,000 more than my 145, because when I did release my first book, the carryover wasn't as much as I would think, even in that big pool. Even some active dissent being like, what are you doing? Just keep talking about Star Wars. Why are you? I don't care about what writing your mission or what kind of stories you're trying to tell. I was like, wow, these are my fans. These are some people who are watching my video, because you don't really get that, because you only get the positive stuff because you're making videos that they would like to see. And that's I think one of the dangers that I wanted to talk about, the dangers, and Joanna Penn talked about it a little bit too, about the dangers of what success you achieve, because if you end up doing something that you realize, oh, that's not really in line with what I want, for my own personal life, you got to be careful with what it is that you become popular with, because if that becomes oh, this is my income now and I have to continue doing this, probably shouldn't, and that's why I shifted over. But what I'm trying to do is continue having that happen on YouTube, but then finding those trickle of people, because I'm not saying no one came over. It's impossible for that to happen when you're casting such a wide net. And I have one of my beta readers. She is the most perfect beta reader ever, and she said she would never have found me if it wasn't for my YouTube videos. And then with another beta reader, he said the same thing. I was like, you're really good at like analyzing this stuff. Well, I'm like, I came from a channel where you analyze like, geek lore. You should know that I'm going to analyze your own writing. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. So that's cool to have found those sorts of people to come over. So, but it is a challenge to get them aligned with, hey, I'm creating my own stuff. I don't want to just talk about other people's creations all the time. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge.
And that's what is your book release plan? You've got one book out.
One book out. I'm trying to, I have book 2 almost done, but I'm understanding now why it's important to have multiple done so that they can come out one after the other. That was the first mistake I made, even though everyone always told me, I'm just going to release my first book. I want it out. I wanted people to know I wrote a book. So yeah, now I'm trying to keep hold of that and then put out one trilogy, which is this first one I'm doing, and then the second one. And these are standalone books in the sense that I'm building out the world. So if you're familiar with A Song of Ice and Fire, it's as if I'm writing a book about Ned Stark or Robert before the Game of Thrones comes out.
Okay.
Because I'm not confident in my own writing. So I want to do it bit by bit, just to be like, okay, let me like build out this part of the map, this character, and then do the big epic fantasy like Garrett's doing right now, so... this is like my college course right now.
It's really funny that you say that, but because I'm actually still in the exact same process. Yeah. When I found out that this is what Antoine was doing, this is why I was immediately attracted to his writing and to what he's doing, because he's doing the same thing that I started doing. I've written 3 series in the same world, and each of them focuses on and tells the story of a single specific character. And I've done a trilogy with each character so far. The last characters trilogy is still happening. And after that, after the first 3 books with this new character, then I'm going to be starting a series that features all of them together as well as other additional characters. And I started that way because I was not confident enough to write the big epic fantasy. I tried. I wrote 10,000 words and I said, goodness. I'm not good enough to do this yet. So I started smaller. When I found out this is what Antoine was doing, I was like, oh man, we should totally talk and maybe even work together.
Right,
and we did.
It is a great strategy, because the depressing thing is, and I'm writing my first book, is that I think Mark said he read once that you need to write 1 million words to find your voice. So that's, you do need...
Yeah, that's what Stephen King said too.
And if that epic book is going to be the one you really want to be proud of when you're in your frail dotage, then you should probably work your way up. So it's not a bad strategy. Okay, so Garrett, writing process. So this is fascinating to me, because people will not believe me when I say that there are 5.5 hour long videos of you writing a novel on YouTube.
Yeah.
And they're quite low view numbers, but YouTube counts a view as somebody who's watched 50% or more of a video, right? So am I right with that? So you've got, although they're lowish viewing figures, there's hundreds of people have watched these videos, and a number of them have watched more than 2.5 hours in a row in one sitting of these videos. So these are being watched. Yeah. Just tell us about that. I mean, you said earlier you need feedback to help you write, and I'm guessing that's what these sessions are.
Actually, so this is something else. This is my YouTube channel called Vlog a Novel, and this started on these actually stream live on Twitch. They are not, and that's something for anyone who's not like intimately familiar with the online video space. There is YouTube, which is for videos that you upload and people then watch. There are also other video platforms, and the second biggest video platform out there, strictly video platform, is Twitch. A lot of people will have heard of Facebook Live and how Facebook is making a big play for live streaming, more video. Well, Twitch did it first and did it better, and then they got bought by Amazon, who continue to pump them with money and marketing and everything like that. So one day, because of a variety of things that were going on, primarily primary among them being my inability to stick to my own writing schedule. I have always had difficulty with schedules, deadlines, all that sort of thing. I decided that the next book that I was going to work on, I was going to live stream the entire thing. And so I just put on a stream which showed my document as I was writing in it, and then a camera, with my face off in the corner, and there was my microphone, and I just streamed it. And I went on Reddit, which I've never been on Reddit before, and I really don't go there anymore, and I just posted it in a writing subreddit. Hey, I'm writing a book and I'm going to live stream it. I don't know why, but if you want to come by, you can. And people started coming and hanging out, and more people found me off of Facebook and everything like that. The YouTube videos afterwards do get views, but way more of that is watched live by people coming to Twitch and hanging out in my chat room.
So I see the chat on YouTube, but that is a replay of what happened on Twitch live.
Correct.
Okay.
It does. So now years later, I do set it up where I stream to Twitch and YouTube live. YouTube, for some reason, despite being the biggest video platform in the world, they really haven't cracked live streaming. I don't get any live views on YouTube. Everybody goes and watches on Twitch because it's a much, much better live streaming experience. For one thing, the delay is much less. The video delay is about 15 seconds. So if somebody sees me do something on screen and then they comment on it, it's happening in real time. On YouTube, it's usually over a minute long. So by the time somebody's asking me a question about what I've said, I've already moved on. All that sort of stuff.
Twitch is so I was going to say Twitch is much lower profile, and I've got to be honest, I'm not sure I heard of it before you introduced it to me.
It's not lower profile in certain circles.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You use Twitch, Antoine?
I don't Twitch. I mean, I'm trying to right now because it's a place where I found I can do my writing stuff without someone being like, "What are you doing? You should be working on something else," you know, that kind of thing. So I have like very, very small, and also for what Garrett was saying about the schedule thing, it does keep you like a little bit more honest about, I'm going to write for 45 minutes, or because, you know, if you're doing it in front of, 10 or so people, it's like, yeah, you have to, or these people are going to know you're a liar. You know what I mean?
You're not going to pull up Facebook because they can literally see it if you do.
Like, hey, I saw you pull up Facebook. What are you doing? Oh, yes, I'm streaming right now. Let me take that.
Or pull up something worse. And do people watch you writing a novel and then buy it?
Yeah. I mean, for one thing, I've never had more than 20 viewers at a time. So, I mean, 20 people in terms of when my books sell thousands of copies, if those 20 people, and also with each book, there's 80 to 100 to 120 hours of video, live streaming video of the writing. If they want to go through 120 hours of video in order to read the book as I'm writing it, I mean, fair play to them. You know, I'm not going to begrudge them the $5 it would cost to just buy the ebook.
Yeah, so there's no spoiler alert danger in that.
Right.
Okay. One of the things I would like to cover, and I've got you both here, is a bit of method stuff. So I think this is an area, and all three of us have nice looking microphones and headphones in shot, and I know that puts some people off because they think, I don't know where to start with technology and on the rest of it. So, but those early days, Antoine, why don't I start with you? You're looking for I know you're going to pick up a phone, are you?
Yeah, well, I was going to pick up my phone and the Apple earbuds. Yeah,
so that's all you need to start.
That they come with.
Yeah, I was hoping
that's why I started. And I did it to help with quality. I just got a big blanket, put it over my head so that I can dampen there's no echo or anything like that. And that's how I started. Literally, it sounds like crap to me now, but like even then, I was like, no, it's functional. It's functional. And then then I got the USB mic, the Yeti. And then only recently when I started doing audiobooks for my own book is when I got this guy here, which is the same mic that Michael Jackson used to record the Thriller.
I need to know what mic that is because it sounds beautiful.
It's the SP, what is the actual name of it? SPF, it's a Shure mic. It's like the most popular Shure mic. SPF something.
Pardon me while I write this down.
SM7B.
It's going on my Christmas.
Shure SM7B. It's very good. It's not even that expensive. Actually, like one of the lower end professional mics, but it's an XLR professional grade mic.
Yeah.
So
it sounds gorgeous. So yeah, I was hoping you would say that you don't need a huge amount of kit.
No.
People can start with a phone. They can prop it up and talk into it. And at what point do you start? Do you just plan something out to say the first time, or do you just go spontaneously live, or do you have any advice for
I started
an author?
Scripting first. Well, my videos in particular, you have to kind of script them. I'm kind of, actually, it's funny, I turned away from that a little bit where I felt like I was too scripted and it's not natural anymore. So I have like half script and half like, okay, I know what I said, but my conclusion, sorry about that. I know you guys can hear that.
Oh, it sounded awesome.
This is the beauty of my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, I lost my train of thought. It was about
Scripting.
the,
Started scripting.
Oh yeah, script. So scripting and non-scripting. So I'll have like the scripted thing, so like it makes sense, and then my conclusions are generally okay. Let me just like vlog it basically, so people can understand that. Oh yeah, this is really his opinion, not just him speaking of words that he wrote down, and it sounds like a robot. So. And
Garrett, do you script your videos, or does it depend on what type of video you're putting out?
Well, mine was actually the opposite. So I started the first YouTube videos that I ever made. I had a podcast called The Storytelling Podcast, and a couple of friends and I would sit on a video call and we would talk about one aspect of storytelling that week. And of course, that's all extemporaneous. So when I sat down and started recording myself on a camera, I just picked a topic and then I talked about it for 10 minutes, edited it down to 4 minutes, and that was what I put out. But then I got very heavily into the daily vlogging scene, and I started watching people like the Vlog Brothers, John and Hank Green, and I mean, she's not really a vlogger, but Kat Black and Riley Dennis and Hannah Hart and all these people, and their stuff was amazing. And sometimes they would go a little bit off the cuff, but I realized that my favorite videos of theirs were always, obviously, if not down to the word scripted, very carefully constructed and structured. So I started doing that more and more, to the point that I actually have a teleprompter on my camera now. It's a little teleprompter. It literally costs, hold on one sec. It literally costs $30, and it attaches to the end of a DSLR just like that. And you have, I have an app on my phone that I load the script onto, and I pull a little thing down here, and the phone just does the teleprompter right there, right there for me. So I'm now actually more heavily scripted than I ever have been.
That's amazing. And I used to work for the BBC, where there would genuinely be something made by AutoCue that probably cost $45,000 stuck on a camera. And now we do the same on our video shoots. We have an iPad and a little mirror, and it's everything's come down. Okay, so you mentioned editing there, Garrett. And again, for people listening who think I must get into live video, I must get into this space, but the things worry me, and one of them will be editing. Do you do a lot of editing? And if so, have your recommendations for a nice, easy, accessible editing process?
Heavily scripted videos are much easier to edit. If you are filming, like I did back in the beginning, if you're filming 15 minutes of just brain dump and then trying to edit that down to 4 minutes, you have to think about it a lot more. There's a lot more involved. My videos now, because I'm very good at reading a teleprompter, are literally just cutting out the breaths in between lines. And once or twice per video, I'll mess up and have to go back and do it. So with that framework, that sort of thing of just talking to the camera is a lot easier than one of my tech tutorials, or than one of Antoine's videos where he's using graphics and, different images coming in and like all of that sort of stuff. If you're hesitant about any of that stuff, you want to avoid that, and you just want to record yourself talking to the camera, and then just get yourself. I mean, a lot of people use the free program that's on everyone's computer, iMovie, or Windows Movie Editor, whatever it's called.
Movie Maker. That's where I started.
Yeah, Movie Maker.
Yeah.
But you can also get, just like any of their other programs, you can get Adobe Premiere Pro for $20 a month as a subscription, and it's an incredible program. It's pretty intuitive. It's easy to learn. Apple has Final Cut, which is, I think that you have to buy it. It's $300, so that's a little more expensive, but it's also, you just kind of, and you go in there, you pull in a video file, and you just kind of fiddle around with it until you really learn what you're doing. And
I think you'll naturally find it too, because as you write in those smaller programs and you want to start doing more, and you're like, oh, I have demands that this program's not meeting, that's when you naturally will upgrade. Because when you start, I don't think you ever have the idea of, oh, I need all these features. You're like, no, too many features. But then once you start making several videos, you're like, I wish it could do this. I wish I had multi-track. What does that? And then you like slowly start, trickling up.
So and ironically, there's a lot of YouTube tutorials teaching you how to do all this stuff.
Yeah. So any of those editing programs that you mentioned, from Movie Maker and iMovie through to Premiere Pro, which I use here, there's a gazillion helpful YouTube. I still use them to this day. I've been video editing for however long video editing's been around, when it moved over from tape, and I will still Google how to do something and I won't have one option of somebody to look at of how to make a title do something. For instance, I'll have 12 people demonstrating it. So it's
exactly
the most well-documented, one of the most well-documented things on the internet.
And then again, just like with your book, if you're writing a book, we're all familiar with the fact that you need to pay good money for a professional cover designer and a professional book editor. You can hire people who will edit your YouTube videos, and editing one of my YouTube videos is less than an hour of work. And I have worked with an editor in the past. Every video, I send them the files, I PayPal them $25, and I'm done. I don't have to touch it again. They edit it, they post it on my YouTube channel. That's another easy option.
And is that Fiverr.com or something like that?
No, mine were all personal contacts.
Okay, but there is
people at
Fiverr.com and
conventions.
peopleperhour.com, which I think is maybe UK, but there are these places. So Antoine, I know your stuff is edited. I was going to make the point that one way around this, certainly at the beginning, is to do stuff live. And although YouTube isn't the best live video platform, Facebook Live I think probably is better, and you've talked about Twitch, but doing it live does get over those early day Twitters about how much technology you need and how much experience you need to create videos, because you can't edit it.
Right. Yes. Live is, I mean, it's good. I just never really did it on YouTube to a big extent.
Yeah, you're an edited guy. So, and
Yes.
right from the beginning, you're editing?
Yeah, no, right. Because before my YouTube channel, just again, like Garrett, I was also doing film and stuff like that. So it was a good place to put your short films and archive them, because back in old internet days, you had to like pay for bandwidth and stuff like that. And it mattered how big your file was. And YouTube was like, oh, you could just put it on there for free. Cool. You know, so.
However big you want, however much, whatever this file size. Yeah, YouTube's, it's pretty good for stuff.
Okay. So before I leave you, I want to hear a little bit about the personal side of things, about how you would prepare yourself to broadcast, some tips to people. I use the word broadcast because I'm old and that's what we used to do. Live stream now, I guess, whatever you want to call it. And I know that some, again, I'm trying to put myself in the place of somebody listening to this thinking, oh, I can't do this. What are the barriers in the way? One of them might be you two have very obviously got an engaging on-screen persona. Whether does that come naturally, or what's your advice to get to the position that you guys are at? Let me start with you, Antoine.
I guess, I mean, I in college, I took a public speaking class, and I also was doing acting from like middle school to high school and then stopped. But I guess that helped. I mean, having some sort of like voice coach or whatever. And I still don't think my voice is that great. Like I never would do like my own audiobooks or anything like that. But I'm enough that I can convey my own thoughts and my own personality through it, that I feel comfortable enough to do that. But a lot of that is just enunciating and making sure you're very clear. For me, I get both criticisms for talking too slow or talking too fast, depending on the context, because I'll do that. I'll like, oh, I know someone's going to think I'm talking too fast, so let me read this word, kiosk. And then it sounds like a robot and it's bad. But if I talk too fast, which is more natural for me, people are like, I don't understand you. I have to use the YouTube slow down button to make you like talk slower. Like same with Audible, you know, you can slow people down. But yeah, I think it's the being very clear, having a very clear voice, very consistent and articulate voice when speaking on YouTube.
Garrett, any top tips?
Yeah, I mean, it is it is a thing that comes pretty naturally to me. I definitely have friends who are more on the introvert side who have said, Garrett, you can be pretty exhausting because I'll just get out there and I will talk, and I also talk very exceptionally fast. I mean, that is one advantage to it, though, is that if it either comes to you naturally and you don't mind being on camera, you don't mind being watched and seen by other people, or if you can just sort of buck up and get used to the idea. If you can get used to that fact and accustom yourself to it, even if you're putting on a bit of an air, and you don't want to do that too much. You want to be as authentic as you possibly can, but you know, get yourself to a place where you can be on camera like that. You actually have a bit of a leg up because, I mean, we're all authors and we all know what authors are like. We're kind of an introverted bunch. if you can do video, if you can get yourself on screen, and if you're willing to be seen by other people in that authentic space, you're in a minority, and it does help you stand out. So just remember that the people that you're talking to are just people like you, and they watch the same geeky videos, or they read the same cozy mysteries, or they love the same romance novels that you do. And if you get on there and share what you love with them in front of a camera, they're probably going to like you a lot for it, because they probably don't have that many people they know in real life who are willing to share that love and that fandom. And that is honestly something that you can give them. And I think it's really valuable.
That's great. And it's one of the great things about the internet is finding a reflection of the things that you're interested in as well. It will be there somewhere. Okay, that's good stuff. And I'll just add from my own experience of this. I think when I first started broadcasting, a producer very helpfully said to me, it sounded like I just spoke with a gobstopper in my mouth. And it was really boosted my confidence. But my voice was not good. It was not good for broadcasting. And it's just exactly the same as we talked about writing. The more you do it, the more you hear yourself, the more you change very subtly the way you speak. And I think you go too far to start off with, probably overacting, over-enunciating, and then you come back a little bit. And eventually it's like you're having a conversation with somebody, but in a very clear and a slightly more structured way than you would do normal talking. But that's not something you sit there on day one and learn in the first half an hour. Get on there, do it live, keep talking, record it, listen back. Do you listen to yourselves back?
Oh, yeah.
I have to, because you edit yourself and it's so irritating. Well, it's fair. Like later on, there's been times where okay, I can take my headphones out and listen to my voice without feeling embarrassed. But before, it's like, no one listened to this.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna edit it.
Do you ever go back and watch old videos? I just did that a while ago. And really? Oh, man. I actually really enjoyed it because, one, it was like, oh, my God, you doofus. And two, it was one, because of what I do, it was really valuable watching videos that I was making in 2014 when I was writing the book that would explode, and seeing those thoughts and remembering how those thoughts made it into the video. And that's another thing, is if you're doing a running track of what you're doing, what you're working on, and what you're thinking, you can go back, and that's like an archive of like the person you were when you wrote your big book. It's pretty great.
Yeah, documenting your life.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, Andy Warhol didn't quite see this one. He predicted the 15 minutes, but now when we die, we're not dead, because there's this imprint of us electronically, and particularly you guys, it's going to be there for a millennia future. Historians will be poring over this, wondering what on earth these three were going on about.
It's a Black Mirror episode. I know that. I think they do that out of the UK. Yeah. That's a very good episode.
That's a very twisted series, Black Mirror. If you haven't watched it, it's very dark. Okay, look, that's brilliant. We've busted our time, which we try to. Our little format thing is trying to make sure that we give people a kind of hour max bite-sized podcast to watch. And I think that's something else that's quite useful to do, is to be regular, routine, and allow people to tune into that.
Very much so.
It's been brilliant, guys. Thank you so much. We probably could go on, and we will speak again in the future. Particularly, Antoine, we want to learn about your book writing success in the future.
Yeah,
we want to.
I'm trying to get there with you guys.
We want to go, well, look, we're all writers, and we just want to wish you the best of luck with that, and anything we can do to support that, we are here for that as well. And where can people find you on the internet? So, Anton, why don't you go first?
I have my own website. You just first name, last name.com, like legit, like no underscores or anything like that. AntoineBandele.com, or if you're into the YouTube. Actually, cool thing about my name is very unique, so I use it for everything. So you put my name in Google, you'll find my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, website, YouTube, all that. So Antoine Bandele, easy.
It is useful to have a unique name. Antoine Bandele, you were born with that name, or was this a pen name?
No, there's a story behind that. I was not born with that. I was born Bailey, which my dad found out was an American slave name, so he wanted to change it. But instead of doing like the Malcolm X thing where, we're just going to be called X because we don't know what our last name, he actually gave us a last name. And interesting that the West African name that he found for us is actually, because I did the whole 23andMe blood test DNA.
Okay.
And it was actually from that region.
Wow.
Like, he just made a guess, and he actually found the right one. So, now it's a Yoruba last name, which means born away from home. So it's kind of like fitting. So,
how lovely,
kind of cool story with my name.
That's a really cool story. Yeah. And Garrett, where could people find you?
How am I supposed to follow that?
Sorry, Garrett. Sorry.
Gosh darn it. No, you can find my books if you're interested in fantasy at underrealm.net, where you can also find Antoine's work that we've published in the world. But go check out his novel, The Kishi. It's amazing. Also, I'll just say that I do one of the video series that I make is called Writer Wednesday. It's on YouTube, and if you Google Writer Wednesday, you'll find my videos, and you can follow those on my YouTube channel.
Superb, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Yeah.
There you go. So YouTube, I mean, I think taking a view on it, I've been involved in video for years now, and I'm a big fan of it. And I mentioned briefly why that personal connection, there's no real substitute, apart from meeting somebody in the flesh. There's nothing quite the same as directly talking to somebody using video, which is possible today in a way that simply wasn't a few years ago. And you shouldn't underestimate the fact that people make a little connection with you, and they kind of want to support you. They want to be a part of whatever it is you're doing. Now, as big businesses, they struggle to use video because if you're a car manufacturer, if you're Ford or GM, it's quite difficult for you to have a personality face on video, although they all try to do it at their motor shows and so on. If you're an author, you're ideally placed to use this medium. You can look down the lens, you can be relaxed, you can have a beer in the evening or a gin and tonic, you can chat, you can take questions, and people get excited about that because frankly, when you were reading books excitedly as a 25-year-old, how much fun would it have been to have had a down the line two-way conversation with the person who wrote the book? Yeah,
very much so. No, it's a great opportunity to do that. Video is excellent at fostering those kinds of relationships, more so than it's possible on email. So yeah, why wouldn't we be doing that kind of stuff? I mean, I know just from my own experience doing Facebook Lives, my readers love it. And I haven't done them for a little while, and I get people asking, when are you going to do one again? So yeah, it's definitely a positive, it's a powerful tool in the armory.
It's very powerful. The numbers are lower, no question that. So your email is a numbers game. You're going to send an email out to hopefully thousands of people, and there's a smaller conversion rate of people who become your sort of fans and readers. But on video, I think the conversion rate is higher. If people have bothered to seek you out and are sitting there watching the video, they've taken a step towards you already, and so they're a very warm audience. But don't be despondent. If you want to get into this and it starts small for you, it will start small. You will get better and your audience will get bigger over time. Good. Well, Facebook Live is probably the area we would point people to first of all, but I think it's important to keep an eye on YouTube. It's funny how YouTube haven't really cracked live video. They've got the platform there, but it's not particularly well used and it's not the best place for it, but that may change, as everything in our world seems to change quite often. Good.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Is that it? Have we got anything else to talk about on this Friday?
TV, I did live TV on Friday. Went and had
you did?
South Today. So I've done national television now, and this was regional. So again, a pretty decent audience down in Southampton, Portsmouth, Brighton, places like that. So a few 100,000 people were just tuning in for the weather. They told me as I went on, this is a prime slot because their audience goes up around about the weather time. So it was fun. No, the more I do it, the more comfortable I get, and I enjoy it. It's fun. I wouldn't have enjoyed it 10 years ago, but.
And that video is on our YouTube channel if you want to have a look at it. You're getting very comfortable on the red sofa, the BBC red sofa.
I am.
You're right about the weather. The best editor I ever worked for used to say in the morning meetings, any chance of us leading on a weather story? Because he knew if we led on a weather story, that the audience would be up that day. So any hint of snow, and that would be the lead story in regional television. Good. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much indeed for tuning in this week. We have a star guest next week, don't we? We have one of the biggest indie authors in the country, Louise Ross, LJ Ross, who from a standing start did astonishingly well. And she's a very, very nice person, very interesting to talk to. Her and her husband are a team together on this. So we're talking to Louise, who finally caught up, tracked her down in the same hotel area where Jamie Lee Curtis was last week.
I didn't see her. I was there and I didn't know until
she was sitting by the doors. We walked out.
I didn't see it.
And she popped up on, she's obviously promoting Halloween at the moment. She popped up on Graham Norton's chat show last night, so that's what she was doing there. My wife said she was mad as a box of frogs on the show. But
yeah, I didn't see that either, but there you go. That shows how much interest I have in celebrity culture.
You only watch TV when you're on it now.
Exactly, yeah.
And on that bombshell, let's say goodbye for this week, and we'll see you for the LJ Ross interview next week. Have a great week reading and a great week writing and a great week selling. I've added another one in there. You've got to read to be a good writer.
We've only done 140 of these.
Yeah, we'll get there. Thanks, bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Self-Publishing Formula podcast. Visit us at selfpublishingformula.com for more information, show notes, and links on today's topics. You can also sign up for our free video series on using Facebook ads to grow your mailing list. If you've enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.